I'm excited to read this book. It just came out and it was in kind of like one of those highly anticipated romance reads for 2025, and I think the cover is just so beautiful that I probably would have picked it up from the cover alone. So from my understanding, Passion Project follows along our main character, and she goes on a date with this guy and she kind of realizes that she doesn't have a passion for anything. She lives in Manhattan, but she doesn't have hobbies. She's not really excited about anything. And so she and this guy, I guess, kind of decide together that she wants to figure out what makes her happy, what brings her happiness in the world. And so together they kind of go and they do different hobbies together to figure out what brings her the most joy. And I feel like this book has hidden complexities to it with that kind of idea of like, what does bring you joy? What are you passionate about in life? So although on the surface it seems like it's going to be a cutesy romantic comedy, I think that it's going to be deeper. The levels of it are going to be deeper than you would think. So yeah, that's pretty much how I understand the book. I think that it's going to be a really nice, just kind of like fun, entertaining book. After like the heartbreak and the soul crushing that I had gone through when I just finished The 13th Child, and then a little bit prior to that when I reread all the Hunger Games books and then read the prequels, I've read a lot of really depressing books recently, and so I think that this is the perfect one to kind of like reset with. So yeah, without further ado, let's crack this book right open. Oh, but wait, we know the drill. This has a dust cover, and although it is a very pretty cover, we have to take it off before I can read this book. So underneath, I think that the book is going to be mainly blue with like a pink or kind of orangey spine, just to kind of match some of the colors here. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm gonna go with that. And then this is gonna have the April 2025 stamp. So let's see. Ooh, it is very pink. I like that. I had it backwards. I thought that this was gonna be blue. This is gonna be kind of like pink or orange or something, but I love it. It's like it's like cotton candy. That's so cute. All right, let's read this book for real now. Also, it does still look very pretty. So I'm now a little bit more than 100 pages into Passion Project, and here are my thoughts so far. This book isn't as funny and like happy-go-lucky as I was expecting it to be. It instantly goes into the deep, dark, depressing parts of it, whereas I expected it would start off a little bit more funny in like that style and then slowly get you into that more complex part of the book, but seems to be the opposite, and I was not mentally prepared to be in Bennet's head as she's dealing with the loss of somebody that she loves, trying to move on from that but not able to move on, as well as just like pretty bad anxiety and depression. And so it's a little bit hard to read sometimes, but it's still interesting. So where we're at so far is we're introduced to our main character, Bennet, and Bennet has basically lost all passion for everything that she really cared about after the death of her former boyfriend. So I don't know if they broke up, or I think they were still together when he passed away. And so this is a really important part because she's just not able to get back out there and live her life. And so for the past 2 years, she's become a shell of who she is. And there's often times where like she goes into her room and she just like, she stays there. She doesn't interact with her friends, her roommates, any of that. She pushes people away. And she gets kind of annoyed at people who seem to be moving on and living their lives, where she's just focusing too much on like, okay, I'll take a shift here, there. Like her job is basically, I don't know how to explain what it is because it's like different every time, but she just takes on the role of somebody else. So sometimes she's a server, sometimes she's a receptionist. Like she takes on different roles wherever people need it for that kind of like event or whatever's happening. And so she likes that because she doesn't have to be Bennet. She can be whoever that person is that day. And so that's kind of her job. And she's just like push people away. And it's really sad. And there are moments that are definitely very relatable to people who live with depression. Like she has her super, super messy room that she doesn't have the energy to just clean it or fix it or do anything like that. Her anxiety is like constantly telling her things like, okay, yeah, like don't do that, like everybody hates you, like this, and like, oh, I just feel so bad for her. And then one of the things that honestly, like, I was like, wow, did this author like stalk me or something? Because the character, at one point, she has like a 3-day kind of like bout of like pretty bad depression where she cannot get out of her bed. And she can't even go get out of her bed and eat because she doesn't want to run into her roommate who is there, because she just can't for the life of her like get enough energy to talk to another human being. So she just kind of stays there and she just sleeps. And it's honestly a really good representation of what that is like, but it's also really hard to read because it's not really something fun to read. But I think that the author has done a really, really great job in showing what that is like. And so our main character, Bennet, she's not depressed just because of what happened to her ex-boyfriend. She has kind of alluded at the beginning that she's always kind of dealt with this as well as the anxiety on top of it for her whole entire life. And so it's just a part of her. And as people who live with that know, like it's part of you, you can't get rid of it. And so, but right now for her, it's just really, really bad. And so her friend / roommate basically sets her up to go on a date. And the book starts off where like she has a panic attack and she just cannot go on this date. She's not ready to move on. But some events kind of ensue and she does end up becoming friends with the guy she was supposed to go on a date with. And he's trying to help her find her passion. Like she doesn't know what she even likes, what she cares about, like what does she want to do, what brings her joy, and she doesn't know. Like she just, like I mentioned, she's just the shell of who she used to be because of all the things that have happened to her so far. And so he's like so sweet though, like he's very patient. He's like, okay, like it's all good, like once a week we'll meet up and we'll do something together. And there are times where she doesn't want to go, but she's able to kind of like do it, and he's able to help encourage her to kind of go out and hang out and like get back into the world. And so it's going to be really interesting to see her once black and white world probably start to color as she and Henry end up hanging out more, and she's able to expand her social circle and actually start to go out with friends and stuff. Because where I'm at right now, she did agree to go out to the movies with her friends. So I'm like, yes, this is exciting. So yeah, we're gonna see where Bennet's journey goes, but I'm really rooting for her and I am really excited to watch her growth. So I'm going to continue to read Passion Project, and I will update you when I'm about halfway through the book, so I will see you then. So I'm a little bit more than halfway through Passion Project, and this book is still, it's pretty fun and it's easy to go through, but I don't know, there's something missing that I can't quite put my finger on what is missing in this book. I don't know if it's maybe that the relationship between the two characters, I feel like hasn't been built out well enough yet. Like I don't feel the chemistry. I think maybe that's what it is, that I don't feel the chemistry between these two characters, but the writing itself is good. It's definitely good writing. I think the characters are interesting. I think the setting is interesting. And the way that some of the events, like the Passion Project Day adventures go, can be really funny at times as well. And then also really heartwarming. But yeah, no, now that I think about it, I think the chemistry is what's missing. Because don't get me wrong, I am a sucker for romance. And this book had a one bed scene, but it didn't make me want to kick my feet. I was just like, oh, it's a one bed. But then like it didn't do the same thing as most one beds do. And so I'm thinking again that chemistry is that missing piece, that I don't feel it between these two characters for whatever reason. But they definitely get along really well, and they share like really deep, dark, depressing stuff about each other and their own personal struggles, but also things that they like. And they have like friends, they have mutual friends, and like they start to go out, and it is really nice to watch Bennet go from everything being black and white and dark and dreary to starting to see some color and being a little bit more capable of stepping outside of her comfort zone and coming up with new ideas and adventures and really just like working on herself to make her life better and more positive and more something that she wants to live instead of living as a shell. And I love that she's making an effort. She's making an effort to reconnect with friends, to go make sure she goes outside, to clean. As soon as she started to clean her room, bam, everything's starting to change. But also, I like as well that even though she's making these changes to become better, there's still obviously going to be times where she can't get out of bed. And I love the way that that's represented. Like, this is definitely a very, very accurate representation of somebody who lives with anxiety and depression and is also dealing with grief at the exact same time. And I think that the author has done an absolutely fabulous job with that, and to the point where it's like kind of uncomfortable sometimes to read, but it's very, very well done. It's very well handled, but I do find the chemistry, again, I've said this multiple times, is lacking between Henry and Bennet. I want a spark. We need a spark between these two. But aside from that, definitely enjoying this book. And so yeah, I'm going to continue to read this book, and I will update you when I finish the book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts. So I just finished The Passion Project, and although this book wasn't exactly what I expected, being the lack of chemistry and a little bit more serious than I expected, it was still very entertaining. At times, was it not entertaining? Yeah. There's times where I was really annoyed at the main character, but it's one of those books that I think does a really good job in getting you into the mind of the main character, and like you understand why she's making certain decisions, and you'll understand why she's self-sabotaging, and it makes you want to pull your hair out in annoyance, but it's really real. And I think that's what makes it kind of annoying, because you're annoyed at the character because this is a real life flaw that either you've done it or you've known somebody who was like this. But she is a very likable character. She's fighting her own inner demons, and she's just trying to love, but also she's pushing away, but then she also wants to be loved but doesn't think she deserves to be loved. And like, there's a lot of layers to this character, and I think that it makes her really likable. And I think that, like, personally for me, I was really, really rooting for her every single time. And it's like, setbacks happen, and it's like, oh, like, come on, you got this, you can do it. And then there's other times where you're like, oh, come on, Bennet, like, don't do that. Like, come on, girl, don't do that. But then you're like, yes, Bennet, yes, do it. So yeah, I think that she's just like, honestly, it's Bennet that makes me enjoy this book. And some people may not like her, some people may not understand her, but for me personally, I think she's a very well-developed character with very realistic human interactions and decisions. Be it some of those decisions are not good, but you understand why she does it. You don't have to be told either. The book is very well written, and this is the author's first book, which is awesome. And I mean, it was also picked up by Penguin, so it's like, I think this author has a really bright future, and I am really excited to see what else she comes up with. Were there parts of this book that I think maybe weren't the best? Absolutely, but overall, it was definitely still a good book. This book is definitely less of a romantic comedy, though. I was really expecting it a bit more on the romantic comedy aspect, with hints of complexity that eventually like kind of become bigger focuses as the book continues, but it was kind of actually reversed in that way. There were definitely romantic comedy moments, like with the dogs and kind of some of the dates that were set up and the interactions, and then like the final kind of like moment at the end was definitely romantic comedy-esque. But because the chemistry wasn't really there, in my opinion, it didn't really mesh as well as it could have. But the part that was less funny, the more serious aspect about like grief and learning to forgive yourself and let other people in and learn to love and be loved, and all of this was excellent. That was the part of the book that I think was really, really good. but it's definitely not a book that you would pick up thinking like, haha, it's gonna be a fun laugh the entire time. It's not a fun time. There are definitely times when I'm reading about Bennet and I'm like, I need to put this down for a second. Like, this is just like, it's too much. And I need to like step away and like do something else before picking it back up, because it's hard to be in Bennet's head. It really is. But like, you also like, you know that you're gonna follow her journey. And yeah, she really made the book good. So today we are going to be awarding Passion Project a total of 3.5 stars. Like I mentioned, it's a very well written book. I love the character of Bennet. I think all of her friend groups are really good. I do like Henry as a character as well. He was just so nice and patient and loving, and he was just a vibe. He was golden retriever vibe, but for a romance story, I just think that the chemistry between the two characters needed to be a bit better. And I get like, it's really hard too, because Bennet made it very clear like, hey, Henry, we're just friends, okay? Nothing like this. But I feel like the tension between them didn't really exist. Like, it was obvious that he liked her and you see her slowly falling for him, but not enough for me, at least. Like, it didn't make me giggle, it didn't make me kick my feet, and that's kind of like, for me, a prerequisite of a romance book. You want to be like cheering on for the couple. Like, at one point I was like, you know, I wouldn't really even mind like if she didn't end up with anybody at the end of the story. Like, I wasn't really rooting for them, and I was just like more like focused on Bennet's story and her personal growth. But yeah, I think that was missing, because it is supposed to be a romantic comedy, and so that for me bumped it down a mark. And then entertainment wise, just some of the self-sabotaging with Bennet, which again makes a lot of sense, totally in line with her character, but as a reader sometimes I just was tired of reading it. I'm like, I'm just trying to escape the realities of the world, not feel the realities of a world, you know? So yeah, those are my kind of reasonings about like why I've put it to a 3.5, not a 4 or anything, but still a decent read. And as an author's first book, this is honestly one of the best first books I think that I've read from an author. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Curious Tides by Pascal Lassalle, which that is such a fun name to say. Pascal Lassalle, Pascal Lassalle, Pascal Lassalle. I love it. I think that that's really cool. If you remember, last year around this time, I did a book crawl throughout my city, and I picked up this book. It's been a year, and it's finally time to read this book. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So this is what I'll be reading next. So if you're interested in watching me read Curious Tides or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, I did have some people asking me about where the Brandon Sanderson books, they're coming. I think I'm gonna read Atlantis next, so that's gonna be exciting. Stay tuned, definitely in May this is going to happen. So if you're interested in watching me read those types of books, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, and let me know in the comments, what is your most anticipated romantic comedy book of the year? I'm very curious. I think for me, it's going to be the new Emily Henry book, because that's like such a vibe. Also, pretty good news for you. You can get exclusive access to my videos before they're published, as well as a kind of exclusive vote-in zone where you can recommend me books directly, vote, see behind the scenes, a bunch of really cool stuff, including badges and custom emojis. And all of this is possible by becoming a member of my channel. All the information for this is in the description to the video. There are 3 different tiers that you can check out, and all proceeds of becoming a member go toward me getting more books that we can read together on this channel. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. Like I mentioned, everything is in the description to this video. And so with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!